Inside the Magic, show number 429 for June 23rd, 2013.
Welcome to Inside the Magic. Welcome to Orlando. It's now the ride in 3D. Let's roll!
It is Sunday, June 23rd, 2013. This is show 429 of Inside the Magic, as Optimus Prime just told you there. I am your host, Ricky Briganti, and as always, we do have another great show packed with a whole lot of fun from over at Universal Orlando this week, plus some great Disney news from California, out here in Florida, and beyond, and plenty more fun. Before we get started with all of that, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. If you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, anything else you want to send in, you can do so by emailing me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Walt Disney World offers to save you money are available all summer long, all the way to the fall. Travel between this month all the way through September 28th and save up to 30% at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels, with the free dining offer available for Walt Disney World guests as well for most arrivals between September 2nd and September 25th. To book any or all of that, you can call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387, or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much to all contributors to Inside the Magic, whether you're clicking through Amazon or other affiliate links over on InsideTheMagic.net, or making a donation, one-time, recurring, monthly. I say thank you to all of you for all of that. And now let's get started with a trip around the world. Well, a distinctly different tone shift here as we move from sort of the forebodingness of Cybertron and Transformers, which we'll be getting to a little bit later in the show, on to some fun, exciting things that happened out at Disneyland this week. In fact, this weekend, Disneyland rolled out the red carpet for the world premiere of The Lone Ranger. It's the upcoming action-adventure film from the folks behind Pirates of the Caribbean. It took place, the premiere that is, on Saturday at the Disney California Adventure theme park. A red carpet stretched all the way from Buena Vista Street, all the way down and around the corner, down Hollywood Boulevard, and thousands of fans lined up for a chance to see stars from the film, filmmakers, and plenty of other celebrities as well. In fact, even the horse, Lone Ranger's horse Silver, was there taking in the festivities. We sent Paul Berry from Window to the Magic there to cover the event, capturing the celebrities as they arrived, including Armie Hammer, the Lone Ranger himself, and of course, Tonto, played by Johnny Depp. And, well, how about rather than me telling you about the Lone Ranger and all that went on there, I let the stars of the film tell you instead. So we're going to hop on over to that red carpet now and hear a little bit from first Johnny Depp and then Armie Hammer.
For me, started a long time ago when I was a little kid. I was very uncomfortable with the idea of Tonto being considered the sidekick, and it resonated for the rest of my life. Really, it really absolutely was the only combination to bring this movie to life. Bruckheimer's scope matched with Gore's vision and scope. Is most assuredly a winning combination, you know. So I mean, the fact that everybody got together and came through, you know, for the right reasons was great.
big. I mean, it felt big when we were making the movie. It felt big the first time I saw the movie, and now being here in a situation like this, it just feels huge. It's great. It's really exciting. I would like to think that, we brought this little character back to life. It will forever be difficult to think of the Lone Ranger and not immediately go to Clayton Moore in the head. I mean, he was the Lone Ranger on screen and off screen, so we just wanted to make something that would make everybody happy who remembered the old Lone Ranger and the new generations of kids who've never seen it before, introduce it to them in a fun way. It seemed like the dream team making this movie, with Gore Verbinski directing it, Jerry Bruckheimer producing it, Johnny playing Tonto. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me.
And there was a bit from the Lone Ranger premiere at Disney California Adventure. You can see a whole lot more video, including lots of red carpet celebrity arrivals and further footage from the event characters and the big full-size train that was there, and even sort of it's not really a grand opening moment, but the equivalent of that for a premiere. There was sort of a confetti moment right before the movie was actually screened right there in the park for the celebrities, of course, who were there, along with those who paid for those $1,000 tickets, all of which went to a great cause to benefit Native American education. But that screening of the film took place in Disney California Adventure's Hyperion Theater, normally home to the Aladdin musical, but they set up a high-definition projection to show the film there. And afterwards, there was an after-party located over in Cars Land, where those guests who bought tickets, as well as a lot of the celebrities, just had fun for the night, riding Radiator Springs Racers and Luigi's Flying Tires, and then ultimately seeing a presentation of the World of Color as well. So head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see that video and a whole lot of photos from the event. Now we're going to hop out here to Florida, where last week here on the show I mentioned the fact that on Main Street USA at the Magic Kingdom, Starbucks had, it had soft opened last weekend. Well, this week it is official. Starbucks has now opened in the Main Street Bakery. It is still the Main Street Bakery on Main Street, but it does feature Starbucks coffee and other items, as well as some Disney items. The popular cinnamon rolls that used to be there are not there anymore. They're over in Gaston's Tavern. But I mentioned it again this week, not only because it's officially open now at the Magic Kingdom, but also because, in typical Disney fashion, there's a little bit of story behind this Starbucks location. Of course, Starbucks opened in 1971. The Starbucks sort of corporation opened their first location then, and coincidentally, the Magic Kingdom also opened in 1971, but none of that really fits the timeline for Main Street USA, which is supposed to be an early 1900s sort of theme. But if you look real closely as you're walking through Starbucks on Main Street, you'll find what Disney's kind of calling inspiration for the famous twin-tailed mermaid or siren logo of Starbucks. You'll see plates and statues and other sculptures that, as the story goes, a turn-of-the-century cafe owner found this figure and various variations of it, and loved it so much that he made it its logo, and that's how Starbucks came to be. Of course, none of that is true in the real world, but that is how it all goes in the world of Disney. Everything's got to have a backstory behind it. So whenever you head to Starbucks on Main Street USA, not only are you going to grab that double mocha latte something or other, but also take a look around, see how many sirens or mermaids you can find around that location. Now, sticking out here with Walt Disney World, some upcoming limited-time magic has been announced. Of course, there's actually quite a bit of limited-time magic already going on and forthcoming. The Monsters University Homecoming's happening over at Disney's Hollywood Studios right now and throughout the summer. Of course, we've got Independence Week coming up on both coasts. Well, even more limited-time magic has been revealed for the future, but it's going to take a little bit of work to get there because it is going to be another week of long-lost friends out here at Walt Disney World, but this time fans will be voting on which characters they will get to see. Now, not everybody's terribly thrilled with the options to vote for. Some of them are repeats from last time. Others aren't even long-lost friends. They're kind of everyday friends. I'll go ahead and read the list here and let you decide for yourself what you think. The list of votable characters includes Clarabelle Cow and Horace Horsecollar, Robin Hood, Friar Tuck, Sheriff from Nottingham and Prince John, Pfeiffer Pig, Fiddler Pig, Practical Pig, and Big Bad Wolf. So all those sound kind of familiar. Clarice Chippendale. Chippendale's, an everyday characters, but Clarice, definitely rare. Wendell, Liverlips, Shaker, and Big Al from the Country Bears. Chicken Little and Abby Mallard. Brer Bear, Brer Fox, and Brer Rabbit. Flick and Princess Ada. June and Leo from Little Einsteins, Tweedledum, Tweedledee, and Queen of Hearts, Louis the Alligator and Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog, the Penguins from Mary Poppins, and Susie and Perla. Well, voting's continuing for just another couple of days through June 25th over on the Disney Parks blog, so if you want to weigh in with your thoughts on which characters should show up for the next round of Long Lost Friends out here at Walt Disney World, there's your chance. I am incredibly disappointed that Darkwing Duck is not on the list, or anything from Disney Afternoon for that matter. I hope this is halfway through the year, so there's still plenty of time for yet another Long Lost Friends happening, or maybe even a Disney Afternoon happening. I don't know. I will hold out hope. I'm sure Disney is well aware that many people want to see those characters. Maybe they're waiting till further, closer to the end of the year to sort of have a last hurrah. Who knows? But there it is. Other limited time magic coming up starting tomorrow over at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon. I think first limited time magic for that. Be a little bit of a party in honor of Teen Beach Movie coming out on the Disney Channel on July 19th, but between June 21st and several months all the way through September 1st, there will be daily parties including a DJ, and I guess some bikers and surfers will be showing up, as goes the story of Teen Beach Movie, and that will be happening on and off throughout each day. Speaking of Teen Beach movies, of course, recently, within the last couple of months, we reported on the terribly sad passing of Annette Funicello. And on Monday, tomorrow, June 24th, Disney is going to be honoring her life and legacy with a special ceremony over at the Walt Disney Studios hosted by Bob Iger. In attendance at the event will be some of the original Mouseketeers. Frankie Avalon will be there, Richard Sherman will be there, Leonard Maltin, and many more. And so check back to InsideTheMagic.net for some coverage of that event. And speaking of special events that are coming up in August, of course, the D23 Expo, and more details keep coming out every week. And this week it was revealing more, or really all, of the silent auction items that will be up for auction between two sessions on a Saturday, the second day of the D23 Expo. One session will be 2 to 5 p.m., the other 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. And some of the highlights include, for you Adventurers Club fans out there, that famous Zebra Bar that was temporarily located at D Street at Downtown Disney out here at Walt Disney World, obviously originally from the Adventurers Club. That will be up for auction, so you could actually potentially own that if you pay enough money. There will be some ride vehicles. The Matterhorn bobsleds vehicles will be there, along with some a vehicle from Mike and Sully to the Rescue. There will be some life-size characters, including Lady Tremaine and some Dalmatians, or a Dalmatian, and Cy and Am, or Cy and Am, anyway, from that movie as well. From the Haunted Mansion 40th anniversary event, some of the Shag artwork that was on display there for signs and banners and that kind of stuff, that's going to be auctioned off, along with a couple of little small Haunted Mansion items, though nothing from the ride itself. There will be some unique Disneyland experiences like candy making on Main Street USA, or a tour of Big Thunder Mountain with an Imagineer. And then look to Disney California Adventure. It's sort of the remaking of that, including a prop sign, not from the park, but similar to what's in the park, of Flo's V8 Cafe, along with a lot of the construction signs that you would have seen if you were there during any of the years that Disney California Adventure was in progress, if you will. And so you can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for a link to view all of the silent auction items that will be up for bids come August at the D23 Expo. D23 also this week launched their reimagined website with a lot of members-only areas, but you can become a member for free now. All you have to do is head over to the website, d23.com, or even disneystore.com, which is really where all the membership stuff takes place, and sign up for a completely free membership, and then you have to take that and sign up over at d23.com, and it kind of takes a little while for it to all go through. Honestly, I haven't even gotten my membership to go through properly yet. I had some sort of error at the beginning. Apparently, there were some international issues at first as well, where anyone outside the United States was not able to sign up for the free account, and I think they've tried to fix all of that now, but I'm still getting messages from people saying it's not working, and so D23 is asking that anybody having any difficulty with signing up for these free memberships, definitely contact them. They have a guest services, guest relations email, sort of thing, member services, whatever it's called, and just send them an email. You'll find their email address over on the website, and they'll try to get it fixed for you. Here's some news really outside the parks, but something I definitely wanted to mention here just because I went there and it was great. There's a local restaurant, new, just had its grand opening this weekend called Cave In Barbecue, and it's located in my home city of Winter Garden, which is only about 10 or 15 minutes north of the Magic Kingdom, so not far at all from Walt Disney World, and it is just a kind of a fun theme. It's caveman sort of theme, but not really heavily themed like the T-Rex at Downtown Disney. It's sort of just a lightly themed environment. More importantly, it's really, really good barbecue food with some very unique flavors, lots of really excellent sauces. They make everything there. So if you're looking for something new and different to eat around the city, I definitely recommend that. I've eaten there twice now. Really enjoyed it. So let's hop out to California for news that has absolutely nothing to do with anything that I've said so far, but it is exciting, at least I think it is, for the Halloween season that is just a few months away. Filmmaker and shock rocker Rob Zombie has announced the Great American Nightmare. It's a trio of haunts along with a series of big-name concerts that'll be happening every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday between October 10th and November 2nd of this year at the Fairplex, as they're calling it, in Pomona, California, which is just outside Los Angeles. It's going to be 150,000 square feet of horror and entertainment, including 3 haunted houses in a seamless experience. They're back to back to back. They're all inspired by Rob Zombie's films. House of a Thousand Corpses is his film, but the haunted house will be Haunt of a Thousand Corpses. There will also be Lords of Salem Total Blackout and the Haunted World of El Super Beasto 3D. And in addition to that, there will be different bands playing each night, including Andrew WK, Goldfinger, Real Big Fish, and more, some of which haven't even been announced yet. Apparently there's some headlining acts that will have not been announced yet. I'm guessing Rob Zombie is going to be one of them. That would certainly make sense. They'll be playing horror films there. There'll be a DJ and food and drinks and characters roaming around. GreatAmericanNightmare.com is the website. Tickets are going to go on sale June 29th, and they're only going to be $30 to take all of that in. The haunted, the concerts, the everything. Of course, you pay extra for food and drinks, but sounds like a good time. Hopefully, I'll make it out to California to check all that out. Now from California, let's hop overseas, where some exciting things are on the horizon for Tokyo Disneyland. They were announced this week. Some new attractions, actually Tokyo Disneyland in 2014, Tokyo Disney Sea in 2015. So first, there's going to be a new Cinderella Castle projection show, much like what's going on out here in Florida, but out there in Tokyo. It's going to be called Once Upon a Time, featuring all that projection mapping and music and pyrotechnics. It's going to be about a 15-minute show. Should be opening either spring or summer of 2014. Then over at Disney Sea, a new production at the Mermaid Lagoon Theater is going to be taking place there. A new musical production themed to Disney's The Little Mermaid with an upgraded stage and lighting technology and display screens. That show's also going to be about 15 minutes long. That one's not opening till spring of 2015. Now, in the meantime, the current musical production Under the Sea is going to be closing permanently on April 6th, 2014. So still quite a while away, almost a year away before that closes. The Mermaid Lagoon Theater will then be closed from April 7th, 2014 until the new show opens in spring or so of 2015. Also worth noting here, the Legend of Mythica daytime harbor show, which opened back in July of 2006, is going to close on September 7th of 2014. Now let's turn back to the world of movies, this time in animation from Walt Disney Animation Studios, where this week a first look was offered at the upcoming film Frozen. A teaser trailer was released online. However, it didn't actually show really the plot of the film or even the main characters. It was actually released on weather.com. You know, you get it? Weather.com. The movie's called Frozen. Yeah. So the teaser shows off 2 characters who are kind of the comic relief of the film, Sven and Olaf, who are a snowman and a reindeer. And they kind of did some funny things in the teaser, but it is just a teaser. It doesn't even feature the main characters of the film, who are a new Disney princess, Anna, or Anna, as apparently she is pronouncing it. Not Anna, but Anna. And her sister as well, Elsa, is going to be a part of the film. And Elsa apparently is the Snow Queen. And Anna is looking to put an end to her icy spell. It's based on Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, and several images also came out and are a little bit more revealing than the teaser was, where you can see Anna and Elsa, along with some of the other characters, including Hans, who seems to be a suitor or a love interest for Anna. That just sounds odd when I say that, but I'm going to keep going because apparently that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, there's also, of course, the reindeer Sven, as I mentioned, and Kristoff is going to be another character in there that we're sort of just barely getting introduced here. Frozen is going to be in theaters on November 27th of this year. It's not a Pixar film. It is 3D CG animated, but it's not Pixar. It is Walt Disney Animation Studios, much like Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph. More movie news here. The latest casting update for Disney's upcoming live-action Cinderella film. Helena Bonham Carter has been cast as the fairy godmother. Now let's turn to the world of television, where everybody's looking forward to the Boy Meets World sequel series called Girl Meets World that filmed a pilot recently and has now officially been picked up. It's coming to Disney Channel. Ben Savage is coming back. Danielle Fishel is coming back. And the new series is set to air in 2014. Now, in the world of merchandise, this week was the Licensing Expo 2013 trade show, and Disney Consumer Products, who are the world's largest licensor, they're getting even bigger. Of course, they sort of officially this week welcomed the world of Lucasfilm and Star Wars into the mix of licensable products from them. Of course, Marvel is part of it all as well. Howard Rothman, Executive Vice President of the Lucasfilm franchise, said, quote, "We're excited to be part of the Walt Disney Company and to be able to marshal all the resources we've never dreamt before. There's only one place where it made sense for Star Wars to reside, and that is Disney. It is the only entertainment company that understands long-term brand affinity and franchise planning, plus the power of storytelling and compelling characters. This is what our fans expect from Star Wars," end quote. Of course, this is just about licensing, not necessarily Disney producing their own merchandise related to Star Wars, but licensing that out to just about every company out there that wants to produce something for Star Wars. Of course, Hasbro, the biggest licensor probably of Star Wars. They've been doing figures for years and years. I think it was Kenner originally, and then it became Hasbro's. And there were rumors for a while that Disney was going to purchase Hasbro. There hasn't anything come out of that yet, but certainly interesting to see Disney talking up the world of merchandise in Star Wars. We'll see where that goes. And in the world, it's kind of video games, but not exactly. Disney Interactive has launched a new Disney app for Xbox 360. It's called Best of Disney, and it features original Disney digital video, that is, web series, animated shorts, clips from Disney shows, movie trailers. It's got episodes of the web series Where's My Water, music videos, interactive stuff, all of that. So you can pull that up over on your Xbox 360. And here's another fun app that I'm looking forward to giving a try pretty soon. Bill Nye the Science Guy. He is back. Well, I don't know that he ever really went away, but he's his show is not back either. But anyway, he is around in a brand new free app for the iPhone and the iPad. It's intended for kids 4 and up, in which you can explore Bill Nye the Science Guy's lab. And once you're in there, you can sort of tap on stuff to conduct offline experiments at home using instructions found in a book of DIY experiments. You can dig to the center of the earth alongside Bill's dog. Not really in the app. You don't really want to dig to the center of the earth. You can explore Bill's desk drawer and take pictures and learn fun facts and all that good stuff that you would remember from what Bill Nye the Science Guy is all about. And that's actually it for your news from around the world this week, other than sort of the biggest stories from Universal Orlando, which we'll be talking about here in just a little bit. But first, I've got a little bit of a surprise to announce here before we round out this section of the show. Next week here on Inside the Magic is not going to be your usual episode of this show. Whatever news takes place over the next week, I'll probably have to roll forward a little bit because we're doing something we've never done before, though we've talked about for a very long time. Paul Berry is going to be joining me here on the show for the half Ear in Review. That's right, because the Ear in Review show is always so very very, very long, usually, 5+ hours at the end of the year. We're going to try to split it up this year. So next week will mark half of 2013 will be complete. Believe it or not, already half the year will be gone. So Paul and I will be sitting down for as long as it takes, probably a couple hours, maybe 2.5. I don't know. That's what we're going to shoot for, and talk about everything that's happened so far this year. And so that should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, you can look forward to the other half happening at the end of this year. So that is what's coming up here on Inside the Magic next week. But don't go away yet, because there's plenty more to enjoy on this week's show. So that'll do it for your news from around the world this week. This week's tip comes in from Wayne from Alabama, who writes, while this tip can get you an evil stare from other guests, it is totally within the rules at Walt Disney World. In many of the counter service restaurants, the cashier or order counter is double-sided, meaning you can enter the line to the left or to the right of the cashier, and most of the time you'll find a long line on one side and the other side will be empty. That's a great time saver, but be prepared for some nasty looks from the other guests in the same line. Wayne, it really is a good tip, and you know what? Ignore those looks, because they are set up that way. Many cashiers at the quick service locations at Disney really do want you to go and line up on both sides of the cashier, and people tend to follow other people, and so if everybody's getting on one side and no one's going the other way, everybody just kind of assumes you're not supposed to go that way. So you are absolutely and free to and encouraged to go up that other side, be the first, lead the pack. Everybody else will follow, I promise, and you will get a chance to order that much more quickly. Great tip. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. Now, before we get to some main features on this week's show, I want to talk a little bit about Capturing Magic, the iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation, whether you're at Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. They are the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss any of those magical moments while you're in the parks. The apps are actually going to remind you of any of the photo opportunities that you've selected when you are near those locations. And then when you take a picture, just use the app to say, hey, I took a photo and here's who's in it and this is the camera that I used. And then later you've got everything organized. You know which camera it was on, and you can export it all, email it to yourself, and keep track of all your pictures that much more easily. The Capturing Magic iPhone apps are available now in the iTunes App Store. So this week over at Universal Studios Florida was a very, very exciting week. It was the grand opening of Transformers The Ride 3D. It took place on Thursday, June 20th, and of course it's been a little bit over a year since I talked about the grand opening of this attraction out at Universal Studios Hollywood. I'm not going to go too far in depth on the ride itself here, at least not me talking about it, because it's essentially the same ride out here in Orlando that it was in Hollywood. I've even talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago when it soft opened. But I do want to go into sort of the grand opening festivities and even some more interviews that are very entertaining and interesting here, featuring not only people from Universal, some of whom are former or longtime Imagineers, but also talking about the opening itself and also the voices behind some of these famous characters. Of course, red carpet was rolled out at Universal Studios Florida, alongside the attraction, and Optimus Prime and Bumblebee were walking up and down the red carpet. It was a pretty exciting but very, very, very hot morning, but that didn't stop hundreds of fans from lining up. Of course, plenty of media was in attendance, and then as the red carpet arrivals happened, probably the biggest celebrity there was none other than Steven Spielberg, of course, famed Hollywood director, but also executive producer of Transformers The Ride 3D. He didn't do any interviews while he was there, but he did take lots of pictures and posed with Optimus Prime. Also in attendance, as going into the actual grand opening sort of moment, if you will, was General Morshower from the Transformers films. Of course, it's the actor's real name is Glenn Morshower. I actually had a chance to meet him during the little nighttime party that Universal had. Very nice guy. Took a photo with him. He, super nice. Anyway, so he was there as General Morshower, his character. And if you remember back in May of last year, sort of the premise of the Universal Studios Hollywood opening of Transformers was that everything was going as planned. They were protecting the Allspark at this new Nest facility, and Optimus Prime and Bumblebee were there to make sure that everything was going to be just fine when, of course, the Decepticons attacked, led by the evil Lord Megatron. And you know what? Imagine that. It happened again out here in Orlando. Well, the Nest team quickly scrambled. All the troops were on the ground with big guns in hand and their camouflage outfits running around. Big armored cars were driving around. Of course, the vehicle versions of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee were there as well. But here's where things got really crazy out here in Orlando. They actually scrambled jets overhead. And while that was going on, there was lots and lots of pyrotechnics blasting from on top of the Transformers The Ride 3D building, as well as nearby buildings, big flames and fireworks going off, and the jets flew over in formation. And after all of that ended, well, the ride was open. That was it. The Autobots won for now. Of course, the battle continues as Megatron and the Decepticons attack on a regular basis as you ride through in search of that Allspark, that the giver of life for the Transformers. Now, as you heard at the top of the show, I did talk to Peter Cullen once again. Of course, I talked to him a few years ago when he was out here at BotCon, had him record a little introduction for the show then. Now you've heard another version of that this week, but I've also got a few more words from him to share here on the red carpet for the Transformers The Ride 3D grand opening. Of course, Peter Cullen is the voice of Optimus Prime, always has been. He's a wonderfully talented guy and just a wonderful guy in general. So now let's head over to the red carpet of Transformers The Ride 3D at Universal Orlando grand opening to talk with Peter. Transformers The Ride 3D has been huge in Hollywood and here in Orlando. What do you think of the ride?
I loved it, and it's really hard to describe. People have to experience it. It's nothing that I am capable of describing. There's too many things going on that stick with your brain. You're going to be amazed. If you haven't been on the ride, you're going to be amazed. How did they do it to begin with? How do they make you feel like you're in an intergalactic battle, But they do. It's impossible to describe.
Coming face to face with Optimus Prime in the park and on the ride, what's that experience like for you?
Wonderful.
Does it feel like a piece of you is coming to life in front of you?
Always, yeah, always. It's just, the phenomenon that it is. And it's so proud to be a part of it. I'm so grateful to have Frank Welker to be part of it. We're sharing an experience that goes back many years, and that we talk about all the time. Talk about coming alive.
I know. And that music that you heard going on in the background, and then the evil laughter that crept up there, was actually going on in the park while I was doing my interview. That wasn't something I added just now, so he was certainly reacting to that, kind of like this music that you're hearing now that I am putting. But anyway, he mentioned Frank Welker, another amazingly talented voice actor, also was there at the Transformers grand opening. Had a chance to talk to him also. Frank has not only voiced Megatron, but an insane amount of voices over the years. He was the voice of Abu in Disney's Aladdin. He was the voice of the original Fred from Scooby-Doo. He was the voice of Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget, and I literally could go on for half an hour naming all of the voices that he has. Go look him up on IMDb to see them all. But more importantly, I had a chance to talk to him for a couple of minutes, and so, let's hop back over to the red carpet, and here's my conversation with amazing voice actor Frank. Spoke to Hollywood's opening last year. It's great to see you again. Tell me what it was like the first time that you had a chance to come face-to-face with Megatron in the park after so many years of voicing him.
Well, the first thing I saw was the model, or the walk-around robot, or Megatron.
Right.
And it was so cool. I mean, the detail was so great. And, we did a few pictures with him and stuff, and I still had to kind of pinch myself and turn. Whoa! so big, you know. But it was great. It was great. Then the ride, it's like I was saying, you know, in the beginning when we did the flat animation back in '83, just the straight show, and then the games and so on and so forth. Well, you know, you're producing product. But now, to go on a ride where you're sitting in the ride and your product surrounds you and you're participating with everybody else, it really is neat, you know. And then you really get a feeling for what it all is, you know. And hearing Peter and then having Megatron, you know, be as nasty as he is in this thing is pretty cool.
Well, Megatron's voice very different than your natural speaking voice. Would you mind giving me a little Megatron?
Well, Megatron sometimes has
roll the fun out. Let's have a roll out.
Thank you so much.
I am Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. I want you all to experience the ride, but make sure to buckle your seatbelt.
Great. And after all these years, I still think you sound like Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Hey, right. Would you do it for a Scooby snack?
Thank you.
Very cool, man.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
Actually, I think I do sound like Fred.
So there, that was indeed the amazing Frank Welker doing a little Megatron for me, which was a wonderful moment there. You can see I took those voices and kind of mashed them up with video that I shot of the characters in the park, made a fun video of that. So check our YouTube channel to see the Transformers, the Autobots, the Decepticons sort of showing up in robot mode, transforming, if you will, kind of sort of into the vehicles and speaking as well. But you know, wanting to find out a little bit more about what does Transformers bring to Orlando, much as it has done already for Singapore and Hollywood. I talked to some of the folks behind the attraction last year. I believe I spoke with Chick Russell, one of the people from Universal Creative who was behind the creation. This year, had a chance to speak with the president of Universal Creative there on the red carpet, Mark Woodbury, and ask him a few questions as well. So here's what he had to say about Transformers the Ride. Transformers The Ride 3D has been a huge success in Singapore and Hollywood. What does it bring to Universal Orlando?
Oh, that same success. I mean, it's because of that success that we're bringing it, and people love it in those two locations. So it's really become a global phenomenon.
It's a really excellent ride. Obviously, some similarities to Spider-Man. What separates Transformers from the Spider-Man attraction?
I think the hyper-realism of the environments, the scale of the characters, totally different story, of course. But you know, the action of a Michael Bay movie is what you'll experience when you go in Transformers.
You feel like this attraction brings a little bit of the Hollywood sort of glitz and glamour to Orlando?
I think it is today, that's for sure.
I also had a chance to speak with Mike West, who is executive producer of Universal Creative, and in addition to that, he was an Imagineer for Disney for something like 25 years, and so here's what he had to say about Transformers as well. Transformers The Ride 3D, this is now the third one to be built, which is very exciting because it's an excellent ride. What does it bring to the Orlando theme park environment?
Well, I think it brings a hugely successful attraction that we had created and built up in Singapore and Universal Studios in Hollywood. It's an award-winning attraction. It's one of the biggest and best things that we've ever done. We're very proud of it, so it was a natural to bring it here to Orlando.
A lot of people riding through already in the previews leading up to the grand opening. Immediate comparisons to the Spider-Man ride, obviously the same ride system. What makes Transformers kind of bigger and better than Spider-Man?
I think it's the scale. I mean, the scale, a couple of things. Number one, the scale is enormous because of the size of the characters, obviously, and the sets that we created had to match the size of the characters. And the other thing is, we created a real-world environment here. It's not an animated world. This is a real-world environment. So the images on the screen is a real city that you're going in. It's not an animated city, and this is the real sets that are around you that had to blend into it. So I think that the scale, the size, the action, it's a completely different experience.
I agree, and I've been defending it as such, particularly the moment where you're kind of following the characters into the screen across the city and the battle. You know, Spider-Man, you stay out of it until kind of the very end. Was it a goal in the development of this attraction to really bring you further into the world?
Oh, absolutely. We wanted to make the guest an integral part of the experience. So therefore, and what better way to do that than let you ride within a transformer, so we created Evac, a brand new Autobot. So he transforms from his robotic form to the car. You get into the car, you're riding with Evac. He's putting his arms out there to grab the Allspark. So you're built into the action. You're the heroes. You become the hero. It's not Spider-Man. It's not another character. You, the guest, are the hero that saved the Allspark. What could be more fun?
And the focus is definitely on those Transformers. Was there ever consideration to having, animatronic Transformers, or the projections in 3D and high def and all that really was the best way to go?
I think it was the best way to go because they're so intricate. The technical details of these characters are something that would be very hard to do in real world on the time that we had to do it. And also, our shots are continuous. We don't have cuts in our media, and that was a challenge. But it was also fun because instead of seeing Optimus Prime transform from the Peterbilt truck into sections of him, you see him unfold completely right in front of your eyes to a 28-foot tall character, and he's going, roll out. And that's cool.
Mike always likes to do his impressions. You'll hear another one of them in just a little bit because I had a chance to talk to him again about a completely different topic. Of course, I mentioned he was a 25-year Imagineer. Some of the projects he worked on for Disney were the creation of Adventures by Disney, Photo Pass, the Lights, Motors, Action stunt show, originally the original version in Paris, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Play It, Sounds Dangerous, Innoventions, Alien Encounter, and the Indiana Jones stunt spectacular over at then MGM, now Hollywood Studios. So a long history of some really exciting projects, and as I just said, I'm going to be talking once again to him in just a minute about another exciting project that is ongoing. Before I get to that, let me sort of wrap up here about Transformers The Ride 3D. It is now open at Universal Orlando, Universal Studios Florida. Very long wait times, of course, a brand new attraction out here. Very exciting. I'm a big Transformers fan and really, really happy to have it here locally and don't have to fly all the way across the country to go ride this ride. I definitely plan on riding it many, many times once the summer season kind of quiets down a little bit. But it is fun, and the meet and greet characters are wonderful over there. It is an exciting, immersive attraction that I really, really enjoy. And as you heard, we talked a little bit about the comparisons to Spider-Man there. And while it is the same basic ride system, it is definitely not the same ride. It has a lot of the same sort of flow, but it's completely different characters, completely different world, very photorealistic, very immersive, really draws you into the visuals. And instead of Spider-Man, you're spending most of the time until the very end sort of looking at the visuals. So it's different in that sense, and I just really, really love it. So it is now open over at Universal Studios Florida. Go give it a shot, ride it. It is fun. That is most definitely not the only exciting thing going on over at Universal. Of course, recently was talking a lot about the exciting Springfield expansion of the area around the Simpsons ride at Universal Studios Florida, just kind of down the path from Transformers The Ride 3D, and some of it opened recently. Talked all about the fast food boulevard that is now available with Moe's Tavern and Krusty Burger and all that good stuff in there. There is more to come, however, in that area, and that's what I'm going to be talking about here because I had a chance to preview, go on a little bit of a construction tour as Universal very rapidly moves along and continues to build the rest of their Springfield area. In fact, they already debuted the two new walk-around characters, Krusty the Clown and Sideshow Bob. You can see videos of them over on InsideTheMagic.net and on our YouTube channel as well. I kind of had fun inserting clips from The Simpsons show onto those videos, so if you are a fan of The Simpsons and you know those characters well, definitely go watch those videos. I think you'll be rather amused by all of that. But to learn more about this whole Simpsons Springfield expansion of Universal Orlando, I talked to, who else? Mike West, because he's the guy behind this as well. He was one of the lead guys in charge of the Simpsons ride when that came to Universal, and now he's been put on the Simpsons project once again. He is, again, the executive producer for Universal Creative, definitely has a lot to say about it. So, without further ado, here's another conversation with Mike with another fun So tell me about bringing Springfield to Universal Orlando. Where did the idea first originate? What was the goal in bringing it here?
Well, you know, we opened the Simpsons ride back in 2008, and it's an award-winning attraction. Guests just fell in love with it. And there we kind of took you into the animated world of the Simpsons. So we thought, well, what would it be like if we brought Springfield out into the real world and created Springfield for the guests instead of putting the guests into the animation? Bring Springfield back and make it real. So that's what we decided to do here at Fast Food Boulevard and all along this area, is basically recreate Springfield for guests. So they can come into a Dimensional Moe's Tavern where we are now, and they can have a Duff beer, and they can have a Flaming Moe drink, and out in the other areas of the food court we have Krusty Burger and Luigi's Pizza and Frying Dutchman and Lisa's Tea House of Horror, as Bart has made it look now. And Cletus Chicken Shack, a brand new eatery that we put in Springfield, working very closely, of course, with Jim Brooks and Matt Groening and all the folks at Fox and Gracie to create an atmosphere that is really, it's true to everything that you see in the show. So when you come in, you'll see Barney here at Moe's, and when you walk around Springfield, you'll see Duffman over at Duff Brewery, and you'll see Police Chief Wiggum, who is headed right for Lard Lads, but of course in his haste to get a parking space, he overshoots the parking space, hits a water hydrant, and now there's water squirting all over the place. Well, that naturally becomes a fun water play area for the guests as well. But a little hint, our Lard Lad outside of Lard Lad Donuts is actually bigger than Optimus Prime, just so that you know that. He's taller. So we'll have a lot of great things. We'll have a brand new ride, Kang and Koda's Twirl and Hurl. It's a round ride, has a little targeting system because Kang and Koda's they want you to help them attack Springfield. So as you're flying around, you'll fly past targets that will spin when you hit the target. So it's going to be a lot of fun for guests, again, to keep them involved in things.
I grew up watching The Simpsons, as did many. It's been around, obviously, for many, many years now. Some would say The Simpsons is, a little past its prime, maybe. Why create Springfield now instead of 10 years ago?
I think it still has such relevance now. It's still a very popular show. It's part of our pop culture. It's the kind of show with the kind of characters that will really never go away. And as the success of The Simpsons ride, both here and in Universal Studios Hollywood, has proved that there's a huge audience, fans like yourself that grew up with it. And what we try to do also is create an experience that if you've lived on Pluto for the last 25 years and you've never heard of The Simpsons, it's still a fun experience to come and eat the food, ride the rides, experience the characters. We have 2 brand new walk-around characters. We're going to have Krusty's going to be here, and we're going to have Sideshow Bob walk around. So you actually be able to walk up and meet and greet those 2 characters. And they say there's a lot of photo opportunities. We're going to have Milhouse sitting on a bench, sipping on a squishy outside of Quickie Mart's to be able to get a picture with him. We'll even have 7 little Duff's topiaries in front of Duff Brewery. And the thing that's nice on the lagoon side of Springfield, as you're at Duff Brewery, you actually be able to look out across the lagoon here at the studio. So it's got a really nice environment. We'll have Jebediah Springfield statue in the Springfield Park. We're going to have a brand new element, the Bumblebee Man taco truck. And that's huge. It's this giant taco truck and a 14-foot Bumblebee Man head on the top of it. So that's going to add a whole new element. That and Cletus having his own chicken shack is something you'll only be able to experience here at Universal.
So you mentioned the lagoon, of course. Across the way is the next phase of the Harry Potter Wizarding World. And when the Wizarding World opened, I guess it's been just over 3 years now, it was certainly a whole new level of sort of immersion and theming and really captured the world's attention. Do you feel like this Springfield expansion is following up on that, bringing guests into a world they've always wanted to go to?
I think we always try at Universal is to create an immersive environment, and it's all about the story. As Harry Potter is very much driven by stories, so is Springfield, because it's all about the characters and the fun of a long running hit television series, and we need to make that environment feel as real as possible. And it's interesting because you're taking an animated environment and you're making it a dimensional reality, which always has its challenges because there's the color palette that you want to work with. There's a look at a certain feel to that you want to recreate to make sure it's true to the show, but it also has to be real in the environment we create here at the park.
I was here when you first opened this a couple of weeks ago. Everybody really seemed to love it. How has the reaction been since then?
It's been over the top. As I like to say, people are eating it up. They love it. The food and beverage guys have done an amazing job creating a menu of items here that are just They taste good, but they're just fun. I think Chef Jason mentioned it before. It's just fun food, dude. You come in and you have a flaming boat, it's bubbling and it's fizzing over the top. I mean, you can't help but enjoy yourself, you know. So yeah, the guests have been. It's been a great reaction in the few weeks we've been open.
What's the timeline for finishing the project?
Later this summer, we'll have the rest of the lagoon site open and the ride at Duck Brewery.
And you mentioned Hollywood. Any chance of Springfield expanding out that way?
We don't know yet. We're gonna wait and see.
And that was Krusty the Clown. No, that was Mike West, once again, executive producer of Universal Creative, sort of spilling the details about what is coming up with the rest of the Springfield area. As you heard about the Duff area and Lard Lad with that giant Lard Lad statue that will be there, as well as some other sort of statue characters that'll be out and about. In fact, Duff Man will be there to take pictures with. He's not going to be a walk-around character, but he'll be a sort of a static figure that you can take pictures with. And Chief Wiggum, as he mentioned, and Milhouse, and everything you want to really see from the world of The Simpsons. So certainly exciting out here in Orlando. Would be exciting if it headed to Hollywood. I have a feeling it will be. I mean, there's, the Simpsons ride took over the Back to the Future ride. And out in Hollywood, there's a little eatery right next to the former Back to the Future ride, the Simpsons ride, called Doc Brown's Chicken something, Chicken Hut, Chicken Shack, Chicken Shop, something. Regardless, that seems to tie in very well with this notion of Cletus. And then there's plenty of room over in that area as well where Springfield could be built. So I wouldn't be surprised if that headed out to Hollywood also. But they're going to wrap it up here over the next few weeks out here in Orlando. We'll see how much fun all of that is. Continuing on that topic as well, I talked to Rick Florell. He's the Senior Vice President of Operations for Universal Orlando. Actually talked with him about the food that's a part of the Simpsons Fast Food Boulevard experience. Certainly a big part of that experience, and I've enjoyed the food so far. Certainly the chicken is probably the best thing there. But anyway, here's what Rick had about all of that.
The Simpsons, obviously, entering into Springfield is very exciting, but the food is equally exciting. What does sort of these themed food offerings bring to Universal Orlando?
It brings, a focus on visiting a fictional place called Springfield. And it goes beyond just one or two things that you can potentially do. It's an entirely immersive experience where you can ride, or you can sit, or you can drink, or you can eat, or you can just enjoy because you've shown up at a fictional place called Springfield. And we did our darndest to recreate it right down to the Flaming Moe and the Krusty Burger and some of the other things that we've got.
I've sampled quite a bit of the food here. It's equally delicious and fun to eat.
Great.
What do you think is sort of the most jovial moment for folks coming here?
I think realizing they're in Springfield. I think realizing that this isn't just a restaurant that they show up to, that they've actually showed up at Moe's Tavern. I hope you get some pictures of what this tavern is like, and then compare it to one of the animations on the show itself. When you take a look at the branding that we have, when you take a look at the creative of what Krusty looks like and who Luigi is, and the Frying Dutchman and Cletus and his Chicken Shack and all of those things, I think the aha, if you could, is I've arrived at Springfield. I really came down Fast Food Boulevard. I was really able to just pull up to Krusty and get myself a Krusty Burger or a Clogger.
That was definitely a moment for me, walking into Moe's, knowing that I ordered a Duff beer. I'm not even a beer drinker, and I had to get a Duff beer. Certainly the drinks are very exciting, equally as the food. Duff is exclusive to Universal?
Yes, it is.
It's brewed locally, right?
We brew it in Florida, and it is exclusively for us.
Excellent. And what can you tell me about sort of the flavors you've put into Duff?
Well, we have two flavors. We have three flavors right now. We have two on draft, one which is a regular Duff, which is an ale. There's a Duff Light, which is a Pilsner, and then we have a seasonal called Duff Dry, and that we will change out from time to time.
And there, a bit about the food of the Simpsons area at Universal Orlando. Pretty exciting stuff there. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of that area sort of come together. But even beyond that, Universal does have even another big project that they are working on, though this one is not inside the theme parks, but rather nearby the theme parks. It is a new hotel that we talked about when it was first announced here. It is called the Cabana Bay Beach Resort. It's a little bit of a mouthful. But this week I had a chance to preview what that is going to be all about. Beyond the artwork that Universal has released on this hotel, it's going to be opening early next year. It features, a 60s motif, if you will. It's inspired by beachside hotels on A1A, Route 66, the Pacific Coast Highway, Florida coastlines, New Jersey coastlines, all from decades of the past. It's going to be Universal Orlando's first value hotel, and it's going to feature, contemporary amenities, standard rooms, family suites as well, but in kind of the fun, kitschy color palette, really evoking that era of the past decades ago. It's going to have a 10-lane bowling alley because, certainly bowling was big then and now as well. But one of the things that they are doing differently from hotels that you would have seen back then is they're not just going to have a big rectangular, boring concrete pool, but rather a lush tropical oasis with a winding, lazy river, and actually multiple pools like that as well. So I spoke with, to learn a little bit more about this upcoming hotel, I spoke with Executive Project Director Russ Dagon, and he told me a little bit about what he expects guests to see when the Cabana Bay Beach Resort opens up next year at Universal.
My name is Russ Dagon. I'm the Executive Project Director for the Cabana Bay Beach Resort at Universal Orlando.
Okay, great. Tell me what unique elements the Cabana Bay Beach Resort brings to Orlando that you won't find in any other local hotel.
A number of unique elements on this property. We've got 2 substantial pools. We've got a 10-lane bowling alley, lazy river on property, and a number of other elements that we haven't quite announced yet that will be coming, but we've had a lot of fun with carrying out the 1950s, 1960s kind of retro, classic throwback beach vacation theme on this property.
Well, it looks exciting. There's certainly a lot of visual pop to it, a lot of bold colors. What is that visual style? I mean, is it lifted straight out of the 50s and 60s, or do you have a modern spin to it?
There's a slightly modern spin to it, but I will say we were heavily inspired. There's Wildwood, New Jersey is a hotbed for what they call Googie architecture, and we've extensively studied a lot of what we saw in New Jersey. We've extensively studied beach resorts in Florida and California, and then even the classic, Route 66 mom and pop hotels to look at what we could take, what we could be inspired by, and then reinterpret in a modern, comfortable, convenient fashion.
You call this a value resort. Is it going to feel kitschy and small, or is it going to feel, you're immersed in this theme just at a lower price point?
It's immersed. I'm always hesitant to use the word value because in a lot of people's mind it reads cheap, and that's not the case at all. This is value in that it's a great deal for your money. Again, highly immersive theming, but it's authentic as much as it is themed. We're not going over the top to do prop displays from the 1950s or early 60s. This is you drove back to an older hotel and it's been updated with modern conveniences.
Okay, one more question. Tell me a bit about the extensive pool area. It seems like that's going to be particularly unique for a Universal hotel.
We've had a lot of fun with the pools. Now, our 3 existing hotels all have very interesting pools. This one happens to have multiple pools. It's got an extensive lazy river. In addition, it's got kids' play areas as well. And so that's nothing new for us. At the same time, we think we've really captured what it is our guests are looking for. We expect our guests to play in our theme parks for a few days, but we also expect them to have a day where they sit poolside and kind of relax and regather, and there's ample opportunity to do that on this property.
A little bit about Universal Orlando's Cabana Bay Beach Resort opening in early 2014. Reservations are available now for that hotel. I think beginning in March is when the first reservation dates are available, but the hotel may open even sooner than that, maybe February, maybe January. Those reservations just simply aren't available quite yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's a fun theme. The artwork looks great. You can certainly head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see even more about what it'll all look like when it comes together. And Russ there even said there are some surprises that they haven't talked about quite yet. So looking forward to seeing and hearing about what those are coming up. So that is the future, of course, of Universal Orlando, plus the upcoming Harry Potter expansion that's coming up next year. So lots to look forward to there over the next year or so. And then there's Transformers, which is open now.
Hey, Ricky, it's Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic, listener feedback.
Coming up on an hour for this week's show, so let's do a couple of quick emails and then wrap it up. First email comes in from Jason, who writes, on your last episode, a fan emailed you about Universal Studios doing a DC Comic Land when Marvel leaves the parks. Six Flags actually has an agreement for those characters right now, both rides and walk-around characters. If Universal wanted to do this, they'd probably have to buy out the existing contract. I think it would be a lot better than what Six Flags has done with the characters, and then the land would be so much more in-depth than what Six Flags has done as well. Jason, yeah, you're right, but that doesn't mean they couldn't, potentially share it. It doesn't have to be an exclusive agreement necessarily. I don't know if Six Flags agreement is exclusive or not. It very well may be, but yeah, certainly if Universal's going to be doing a deal with Disney at any time to release those Marvel characters, that license, I'm sure they would work in something, whether it's DC or something else, into that Marvel superhero island. They're not just going to let it sit there and be dull. They'll have a plan. So who knows? We'll see. Next up, an email from Alex, who writes, I heard you mention in a previous show that Disney was releasing a 2D set and a 3D set separately of Oz the Great and Powerful, not together. If anyone who wants both but doesn't want to pay the price for two movies, buy just the 2D Blu-ray, and then when it arrives, enter the code on DisneyMovieRewards.com, and this will give you the opportunity to order just the 3D disc for $5.99. Yeah, it's more money, but it's better than dropping full price for both versions. Alex, great tip. I noticed that as well. It actually works in both directions, I believe. If you get the 2D, you can buy the 3D disc. If you get the 3D, you can buy the 2D disc, and it doesn't cost as much as buying the whole thing twice over. Definitely good there. It's still very, very odd that they decided to separate those two releases. It seems like it's maybe Disney sort of testing the waters to see how that goes with the 3D and 2D versions. Next email from Ollie, who writes, you recently mentioned Disney Cruise Lines adding a stop in Jamaica, offering a Jamaican bobsled ride. Well, my wife and I spent our honeymoon in Jamaica, and we got a chance to ride it. Being a fan of both Disney and the Cool Runnings movie, I couldn't pass it up. The ride is located in Ocho Rios, northern Jamaica, in a park called Mystic Mountain. You're right in stating it's a bobsled and coaster. You start off at the top of a mountain and wind your way down, careening through the rainforest. There's one unique feature on this ride. You control how fast you go. The ride is only powered by gravity. On the sled, there's a lever, and that's basically a brake. The more you pull on it, the slower you ride. The less you pull, the faster. The sled accommodates one person, but you have the ability to link sleds together. I would only recommend this if both riders have the same speed tolerance. If not, someone will either complain you're going too fast or too slow. I definitely recommend it. Ollie, great. Thanks very much for that report. Good to hear that it is fun. It's one of those things when I saw the picture, I'm like, oh, I got to do that. And I've never been to Jamaica either. So someday I'll have to maybe hop on a Disney cruise, head out there, and try out the Cool Runnings experience. Another email. This one comes in from William, who writes, with all the news about Star Wars films, I was wondering if Disney has any plans to release the original theatrical release to DVDs and Blu-ray. As it stands, all of the current DVD and Blu-ray releases contain all the various changes George Lucas made to the original films throughout the years, and I think I speak for every Star Wars fan when I say that we really want the original theatrical non-special edition cuts for the Star Wars original films. Does Disney have the power to release them? Good question. I would imagine they have the power to do it. I mean, they own the company now. Whether or not they will is another story. I could definitely see this kind of going the way of, the Disney Vault, emerging from the Disney Vault for a limited time in conjunction with the release of Star Wars Episode 7 is the original Star Wars trilogy, untouched, unspecial editioned, and yeah, I mean, it would certainly be great to have that on Blu-ray. I completely agree. The special editions have a lot of good things about them and a lot of not so good things about them. So I don't know if they will, but I also hope that they do. And we'll just leave it at that. Short and simple listener feedback, and that'll do it for this week.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
So big show this week. Lots of talk about Universal, of course, because there's been a lot happening over the last week or so. Transformers The Ride 3D now open. Big, huge, amazing grand opening. Loved it. Loved it in Hollywood last year. Loved it just as much, if not more, in Orlando this year. You can see the whole opening, along with lots more video, interviews, even more interviews than I included here, moments with the characters, etc., over at InsideTheMagic.net and on our YouTube channel. Definitely go watch that opening if you haven't already. It is one of the best grand opening events for an attraction that I've ever been to. I've certainly been to a lot of them over the span of doing Inside the Magic here, and this has definitely been one of the coolest, biggest, most impressive. So go check that out over there. And of course, as I mentioned, next week here on the show, going to be doing things a little bit differently. It's going to be the half year in review. Of course, that what also means for those of you watching the video version of this show, there is not going to be a video version of the show next week because it's going to be a couple hours long most likely, and you don't want to just stare at my face blabbing for 2 hours. So you're going to have to tune into the audio version of the show. It'll be show 430 over at InsideTheMagic.net. Download it, listen to it on the go. I know many of you are listening to it right now and being like, yeah, I know, I've been listening to you for 8 years. But for those of you who watch the video version, there it is for next week. And then I'll return with the video version after that and kind of play catch up on the news. But I definitely look forward to speaking with Paul next week. Of course, speaking of Paul, head over to InsideTheMagic.net to see all the great footage that he brought back from the Lone Ranger premiere this weekend for us. Lots of really exciting stuff, even more interviews than you heard earlier with the the sound bites from Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer there. So anyway, I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com and check out the Capturing Magic iPhone apps over on the iTunes store. Just search for Capturing Magic to help you manage all those magical moments and photo opportunities throughout your visits. And of course, visit InsideTheMagic.net. It is your source for Disney and theme park news between episodes of this show, all of our podcasts and videos and photos and news and articles and all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. We've had a tremendous amount of views, over 5 million views in the last month on YouTube, so very popular stuff over there, so check it out. And thanks for listening and watching each and every week, and have a magical week. Bye.